About 7 months ago, I did a two-part series on Google Performance Max campaigns. In episode 1, I just did a full breakdown of what is Performance Max, how it differs from your standard Google campaigns, who it's for, and then in the second episode, I did a full breakdown A to Z on how to construct a proper Performance Max campaign. If you missed either of those, I will put a link to be able to catch up on those before you continue here with this episode. But I do want to revisit this topic because I said something in those previous videos that has me updating one of my recommendations. So that is what I'm going to be breaking down today. So let's go ahead and dive into the details. All right, before I go into what's leading me to this conclusion based on actual data, let's revisit what I actually said in those previous episodes around Google Performance Max. And what I said is that if you are running lead generation campaigns, you should run for the hills and go nowhere near Performance Max. And the reason I gave that recommendation was based upon past experiences with lead generation and Google Performance Max. The algorithm is very literal, so if you tell it you want leads for a free thing, it's just going to think about, okay, how can I get the highest volume of people opting into this free thing? And what that would lead Performance Max to do is that it would push about 90%, maybe even more, of your entire budget to the Google display placement. And the issue with that is that leads coming in from Google Display, they are 99% of them spam leads. And so you're literally just throwing away your money down the drain by doing lead generation and having all of your money go to Google Display. And that's what was happening with Google Performance Max. It makes sense because if you're an engineer designing the algorithm, it kind of makes sense for you to say, hey, make sure you do your best job in getting the most leads for the cheapest cost. But the issue is that it has a placement where it just ends up being really bad, really spammy leads. And so that's why I was saying previously, only use Performance Max for a sales campaign, and that still remains a very good and very viable option. However, I have had the opportunity since then to test Performance Max on lead generation, and now I do have to somewhat switch up my recommendations with some additional caveats to put on top of there as well. But before we get to all that, let me share my screen and I can show you what is leading me to update my recommendation on Performance Max for lead generation. All right, so here we are looking inside of an account lead generation for a roofing company. And the two campaigns we want to be paying attention to are these two right here. This is a brand campaign, so it's not an apples to apples comparison. Neither is a search to a Performance Max campaign for that matter. However, comparing a standard search to a standard PMax campaign is a closer comparison rather than anything comparing to a brand campaign. So if we go all the way over to the right here, we look at the conversions, we can see that the cost per conversion for the standard search campaign is $177 over the last 7 days, which for this company, this is a roofing company. They often have jobs that are north of $15,000, $20,000, whatever it might be. So they are actually, in most cases, very happy to be paying $177 per lead. But then if we look at the PMax campaign, over the same time period, the leads are $31 or $32 rounding up here, which is a significant reduction in the cost per lead. Now, this doesn't have too much more room to spend. I can increase the budget a little bit, but the lead volume, it's just never going to match, well, the search volume, say never, but as things stand with the way these campaigns are built on the back end by the Google engineers, it's going to be difficult for this one to ever spend the kind of volume that this one is spending right here. So for the time being, I can't just turn the search campaign off and push everything towards Performance Max. I can certainly increase this budget, but having both the Performance Max and also the search campaign enabled at the same time, it does just help you dominate the real estate. So I still want to leave them on, but it is impressive to see just how much cheaper the cost per lead is for this Performance Max campaign. And also now you have a lot more visibility into where your budget is going with Performance Max. So previously with Performance Max, in order to know where your budget was going, you literally had to get a custom report from your Google rep, which is super annoying. So like when Performance Max first came out and I tested it on lead generation, I didn't find out until a very long time after I was running a campaign that 99% of the budget was going to display network, because again, there was no report available. I had to request it from a Google rep. The Google rep didn't even tell me that was possible until months later. So I was very mad when that happened, because this client had been spending a good amount of money. It was a client in the career space, a career school, and on the surface things looked well, and we were getting great cheap cost per lead, but then to come find out that most of it was going to display. And that's where my original recommendation came from with regards to lead generation, which is why I was saying, hey, if you're doing lead generation, don't do Performance Max. But here, when we go to the breakdown over the same time period, we can see here, hey, that's, oh, sorry, actually, let me go down here to the actual performance. Oh, no, these are all just different Performance Max campaigns. I forgot that there were multiple enabled here, but this is fine. We can take a look at all of them. So you can see here for this one, 6 leads have come from Google search. This one here, 3 leads from Google search. Here, 1 lead from Discover, 1 lead from Search Partners, 4 of them from Google Search. And then here, this is actually the original one I wanted to look at. 12 have come from Google Search. 1 has come from Maps. So the vast majority of the leads across the board here are coming from Google Search, which is great. That's obviously a super high quality placement. Maps is a high quality placement. YouTube is a pretty good quality placement. And pretty much nothing is actually in the form of clicks, at least, is coming from the Google Display Network, which makes me very happy. So here we have a lead generation campaign where the vast majority of the budget is coming from the high quality placements that are available. The cost per lead is a fraction of the standard search campaign. So this is why I do think it is worth looking into Performance Max for your lead generation needs. All right, really quick, before we go any further, if you're like, hey, Performance Max sounds cool, but I've watched your trainings and episodes on this and it is just a black box. It is so confusing. I don't want to handle this myself. I'd rather pass it off to a professional. Guess what? You are in luck. My team and I, we can take that burden off of your shoulders, whether you're a small business on a small budget or a large business on a large budget. Nationwide campaigns, statewide campaigns, citywide campaigns, it doesn't matter. We can handle it all for you. B2B, B2C, you name it. I'll have a link in the description below. Just go ahead and click on that, and then you'll schedule a time to speak with me directly. We'll hop on a Zoom call. I'll get a better understanding of where your business is at, what your goals are, and we'll put together a plan of what makes the most sense for you to hit those goals. Like I said, I'll have that link in the description below. I really look forward to chatting with you. All right, cool. So those are very positive results, as you can see. But before you go running off to create a Performance Max campaign for your lead generation needs, I do think there is one big important caveat with this entire recommendation right here, which is this is for a high ticket service business, right? Roofing, right? So we're talking about $10, $15, $20,000 jobs. So the algorithm knows that. And so it's very possible that because of that, and it knows how competitive this space is, it is finding a way to bring in those high quality leads and get in front of the premium placements. I don't know how this would work if you're just trying to promote some simple lead magnet. Like, hey, here's my checklist of the top 10 things you need to do to grow your business over the next 6 months, right? A very common type of recommendations that you would see for a Meta campaign, for a lead generation inside of Meta. I have my doubts as to how well that would work for Performance Max. However, again, the benefit is that we do have the channel performance breakdown that we just took a look at a second ago. So I still think it actually is worth launching it and doing an initial test and just keeping a very close eye on the channel performance and seeing where the budget is being pushed. If you see that the vast majority of the dollars are being pushed to display and discovery, I would say that's something that you can shut off very quickly after the initial 48 to 72 hours. But if you are seeing a better distribution among the top placements, search, maps, YouTube, whatever it might be, then I think you've got a potential winner on your hands, and it is something to keep an eye on and worth pursuing. So hopefully that all makes sense, but it is good news overall, because initially I was saying Performance Max, it's only for sales campaigns, but the fact that it's for sales campaigns and at least some lead generation campaigns, right? That opens up the door of possibilities to so many businesses out there. So it's a good opportunity for you to go ahead and test out and see if it works. As always, with this topic or any other topic I discuss. If you have any questions, just let me know in the comments wherever you are consuming this. I do my best to get back to everyone within 48 hours. And then most importantly, hit that subscribe button wherever you are consuming this content. It's a great way to send a positive signal to the algorithm, and it pushes up organically and more people can discover us. But even more importantly, on top of that, if you know of anyone who would benefit from this episode or any other episode, please do me a huge favor and share this with them. That is the best way to help and grow this show. So thank you so much for tuning in this time, and I will see you on the next one.